She spent 18 years living in her twin sister's shadow. Same clothes, same room, same everything. Always what Sophie wanted, never what she wanted. And then she made a choice, a huge, life-changing choice. She joined the military, left for basic training, started a new life. And she didn't tell anyone, not her parents, not Sophie. She just disappeared. So here's the question. Do you owe your family the truth when they never let you have your own life? Family is supposed to be your foundation, the people who know you best, the people who support you no matter what. But what happens when your family doesn't actually see you, when they see who they want you to be instead of who you are? Today's story is about a young woman who spent her entire childhood erased, molded into a copy of her twin sister, and when she finally broke free, she did it in the most drastic way possible. She left, without a word, and now her family is furious. But the question isn't just whether she was wrong, it's whether she ever owed them an explanation in the first place. She's 18. She has a twin sister named Sophie, and for as long as she can remember, her life hasn't really been her own. Growing up, they had to do everything together, not because they wanted to, because their mother insisted, because Sophie expected it, because that's just how it was. If Sophie wanted to do something, they both did it. If Sophie didn't like something, it disappeared. The whole dynamic of the household revolved around keeping Sophie happy. And she, the storyteller, learned early on that her preferences didn't matter. They shared a bedroom, a brightly colored bedroom, pink and purple and everything cheerful, everything Sophie. In 4th grade, she drew a picture of a dragon. Nothing scary, just a kid's drawing. She put it on the wall, and she got in trouble. Because it was too dark for Sophie. Too dark. A child's drawing of a dragon. That's how little space she had to be herself. Their mother dressed them identically. Same outfits, same colors, same styles, all through elementary and middle school, like they were dolls instead of people. Like being twins meant being the same person. And every time she tried to express herself, wear something different, like something different, want something different, she was shut down. Because it upset Sophie, because it disrupted the image their mother had of perfect twin daughters. By the time they got to high school, she'd learned to keep quiet, to go along with it, to let Sophie have her way because fighting it was exhausting and pointless. She existed in her sister's shadow, not as her own person, but as Sophie's twin, Sophie's accessory, Sophie's mirror image, and her parents never saw it. Or if they did, they didn't care. Because keeping Sophie happy was easier than dealing with conflict. Easier than acknowledging that they had 2 daughters with 2 different personalities and 2 different needs. So they just kept treating them like a unit, like a matched set. For 18 years, she lived like that, invisible, voiceless, waiting. And then she made a decision that was entirely hers. For the first time in her life, she chose something that had nothing to do with Sophie. She joined the military. She went through the process quietly, talked to a recruiter, filled out the paperwork, took the tests, made the commitment, and she didn't tell anyone, not her parents, not Sophie, not a single person in her family. She knew what would happen if she told them. Her mother would panic, would try to talk her out of it, would make it about Sophie, how Sophie would feel, how Sophie would react, how Sophie would handle being separated from her twin. Her father would probably side with her mother like he always did. And Sophie? Sophie would throw a fit. A massive, explosive fit, because how dare she make a decision without Sophie? How dare she choose something that didn't involve Sophie? How dare she want her own life? So she didn't tell them. She just left, packed her bags, went to basic training, started her new life, and let them figure it out on their own. And when they did figure it out, they were furious. Her mother called her selfish, irresponsible, cruel. How could she just leave without saying anything? How could she put them through that? Didn't she care about how worried they'd be? Didn't she think about how this would affect Sophie? Her father was quieter, but just as disappointed. He wanted to know why she didn't trust them enough to tell them. why she felt like she had to sneak away, what they'd done to make her feel like she couldn't talk to them. And Sophie? Sophie was devastated, not because she missed her sister, but because she felt abandoned, because for the first time in her life, things weren't about her, because her twin, her accessory, her mirror image, had done something without her permission. From their perspective, what she did was unforgivable. She disappeared without a trace, left them in the dark, made them worry, made them panic. And for what? To join the military? Something she could have told them about? Something they could have discussed as a family? But from her perspective, she didn't owe them anything. They'd spent 18 years ignoring her needs, 18 years prioritizing Sophie, 18 years making her feel like she didn't matter. So why should she include them in the one decision that was finally completely hers? She didn't tell them because she knew they'd try to stop her. They'd make it about Sophie. They'd guilt her into staying. And she'd end up right back where she started, living someone else's life instead of her own. Here's where the double standard becomes impossible to ignore. Her family is upset because she left without telling them, because she made a major life decision without their input, because she didn't consider their feelings. But for 18 years, they didn't consider hers. For 18 years, they made decisions without her input. They dressed her like Sophie. They decorated her room for Sophie. They structured her entire childhood around Sophie's preferences. And when she tried to speak up, when she wanted something different, something of her own, they dismissed her. They told her to stop being difficult. They told her it was too dark for Sophie. So now they want her to care about their feelings? Now they want to be included in her decisions? Now they want honesty and communication and respect? Where was that honesty when they were treating her like an extension of her sister? Where was that communication when they were ignoring everything she wanted? Where was that respect when they were erasing her identity for 18 years? They're asking for something they never gave her. And that's the double standard. They expect her to treat them like family, to include them, to consider them, to value their opinions. But they never treated her like an individual. They never included her preferences. They never considered what she wanted. And now they're shocked that she doesn't feel obligated to tell them about her life. Now they're hurt that she didn't trust them. But why would she? They gave her every reason not to. So now she's facing a choice. Not about whether to stay in the military. She's already committed to that. But about whether to repair the relationship with her family. Option 1. She apologizes. She tells them she's sorry for leaving without saying anything. She acknowledges that it hurt them. She tries to rebuild the relationship. She makes an effort to include them in her life going forward. But if she does that, she's validating their anger. She's saying they had a right to know. She's saying she was wrong for keeping it from them. And that feels like giving up the one piece of autonomy she finally claimed for herself. Option 2. She stands her ground. She tells them exactly why she didn't tell them. She explains how she felt growing up. She lays out every example of how they prioritized Sophie over her. She makes them see what they did. She refuses to apologize for finally choosing herself. But if she does that, the rift might become permanent. They might not be ready to hear it. They might get defensive. They might double down and insist she's being dramatic or ungrateful. And she might lose what little relationship she has left with them. Option 3. She tries to find middle ground. She explains her side without demanding an apology from them. She acknowledges their hurt without taking full responsibility for it. She tries to move forward without rehashing the past. But that might not satisfy anyone. They might still want an apology she's not willing to give, and she might still feel like they don't understand what they put her through. There's no perfect answer. Every path forward requires someone to compromise, and she's spent 18 years compromising. If she apologizes, here's what happens. Her family forgives her. Things go back to something resembling normal. They talk occasionally. She comes home for holidays. They ask about her military life. On the surface, everything's fine, but underneath, nothing's really changed. They still don't see her. They still don't understand why she left the way she did, and she still carries the weight of 18 years of being invisible. The apology might heal the immediate wound, but it doesn't fix the deeper problem. If she stands her ground, here's what happens. The conversation gets ugly. Her mother cries. Her father gets quiet and cold. Sophie throws another fit. They tell her she's being selfish, that she's destroying the family, that she's changed. And maybe she has changed. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the person they're mad at isn't the person they raised. It's the person she finally allowed herself to become. And if they can't accept that, then maybe the relationship was built on a false foundation all along. If she tries the middle ground, here's what happens. Things stay complicated. There's no big blow-up, but there's no real resolution either. They're civil, polite, distant. She calls sometimes. They ask surface-level questions. Nobody talks about what actually happened. And slowly, quietly, they drift apart. Not out of anger, not because of a fight, but because they're incompatible. They want a daughter who fits their narrative. She wants to be seen as herself. And those two things don't always align. This story isn't really about whether she should have told her family she was joining the military. It's about autonomy, about whether you owe transparency to people who never gave you space to be yourself. Her family calls it a betrayal, says she broke their trust. But what trust? They never trusted her to make her own choices, never trusted her to have her own preferences, never trusted her to be anything other than Sophie's twin. Now they want trust. Now they want inclusion. Now they want respect. But respect is a two-way street. And for 18 years, it only went one direction. She didn't leave to hurt them. She left because staying meant continuing to disappear. And at some point, self-preservation has to come first, even if it means disappointing the people who were supposed to protect you. So let's open this up. Was she wrong for not telling her family she joined the military? Or would that have just given them a chance to stop her? And here's the real question. Do you owe honesty to people who never let you be honest about who you are? Who's wrong here?